Ahoy there, YouTube! I'm back again for another Splinterlands video, and today I'm very excited to be talking about the new Grandmaster Rathe summoner that just dropped as part of the airdrop. It is a 6-cost summoner in life that's going to give you +1 armor to all your characters, Void armor, which is amazing at the start of the battle, so everybody's got that. And then all friendly monsters receive the Amplify ability at the start of the battle. Now, the first thing I want to mention before we get into this list is there's actually going to be more than 10 cards, and I'll explain why in a little bit. But first thing, I feel like this is such a great summoner, it's 6 cost, that it is perfectly viable as just a level 1. I want to get into that, and I've been playing with a level 1 myself, and I've been doing really particularly well with the card. But here's 10 of the cards that I'd recommend you pair up with it. So the first one is the Volguine, one of the new cards that was just released. It's a 2-cost card, and the big thing here is it has the Scavenger, gains 1 max health each time any monster dies. Now this obviously is not going to be your tank. However, if you place this towards the middle, or maybe near the back potentially, this can turn itself into a tank, and having that 1 extra armor and then that 1 extra void armor is just massive for the Volguine, and I've had a great deal of success with this thing as a little stopgap. Not to mention, when you're using a 6-cost summoner, you gotta get a little cheap from here to there, and the Volguine is going to help you do that. It'll turn itself into a nice little mini tank. I've been having a good deal of success with it. Now, the next 2 cards I'm going to talk about both have the same basic principle, which is you are spending 6 cost on your summoner. That's a huge chunk of your mana, potentially, which is why I really encourage using life cards that are going to give everyone else special abilities as well. So you're essentially just buffing every single person on your team. And the Silver Shield Knight is a card that I absolutely adore. And it gets even better because it has an extra armor, it's got the Void armor, which means it's going to stay alive longer, and the bottom line is it's going to give every single person on the team +1 Razor Blade attack, which is fantastic if you decide to go that route. And I've been having a good deal of success with the Silver Shield Knight, a card that I always recommend playing with, but I think this just makes it even stronger, especially if you're planning on not using too much ranged or magic and you're just going to be smashing their face in. Same thing, we have the Baby Unicorn, one of my favorite cards in the game. It gives everybody 1 additional heart. So essentially, with this and the summoner, every single person on your team is going to have an extra heart and an extra shield. And once you get it up to, I believe, level 3, it's going to start dealing damage. You can get more speed. It's just a fantastic card to combo. But the basic principle is buff up everybody because you're just stacking buffs on top of buffs on top of buffs. Now, the Armor Smith, this, if you did not know about this card, you need to get this card. It is an absolute ace in the hole. It only costs 2. It repairs armor. It's got 2 speed, which is nice as well. And if you don't have that, you can always pump in the Scavo Highland. Granted, that's going to cost you an extra buck. But especially with everybody having 1 extra armor, that means that he is more likely to stay alive, especially if you put him in that 3-4 slot. He's going to be in there. He's going to be annoying to your teammate. He's going to be keeping your tanks up. Armor Smith, essential, I would almost say, with the Grandmaster. Just a fantastic card. Definitely one you want to be using. Now, digging into the annals of Splinterlands history to a card that you probably don't see too often, but I think you might start seeing a return of a little bit with this card, is the Enchanted Defender. Now, at first glance, $4 for a 1 health card, that's rough. But here's where the things get awesome, because now everybody has the Void armor. And so he essentially has 5 armor and 1 health right from the jump, and then you probably, hopefully, have maybe 1 or 2 things potentially repairing your shield, or you have the other character we're about to talk about, which is going to give you more shield, but he then becomes a pretty viable character, especially for $4. The Enchanted Defender, one that you might want to consider checking out. Even at level 1, still viable, but obviously much, much more viable once you get it up to level 5, and then it becomes an absolute beast and a half, because then it gets the Thorn, but because it has the Amplify ability, the Thorns are going to be doing more damage. So the Enchanted Defender, I'm telling you, don't sleep on it. Especially if you can afford to get it up to level 5 and you can get the this one up to level 5. Heck of a card there. Continuing on, we have the Truth Speaker, which is, it's like, why is this here? It's kind of a no-brainer because it gives everybody 2 armor. And plus, you know, the Grandmaster gives everybody 1 armor. So essentially you have 3 Void armor on every single person on your team. And then it's like, wow, it's really hard to beat you. You're very beefy, you're very tanky. And the Truth Speaker kind of a no-brainer, especially if you got all the way up to level 8 and get that tank heal there. Woo, boy howdy. Continuing onward, we have, where is it? No, actually the Pelicans Conjurer is the next card I want to talk about. And once again, when you're spending 6 on a summoner, cheap cards are great. So if you decide that you want to potentially beef up your back line, but you're going to have a really weak front line, you could do that. Pelicans Conjurer, a fantastic card to do that. It already, has, for $2 you're getting 4 thing, but it flies, which makes it harder to hit. But then it's going to have the +1 armor in addition to armor repair or adding extra armor or extra health if you use the unicorn, which I absolutely love. But where this thing gets really, really spicy is once you get your Pelicans Conjurer to level 4, because then it gets the magic Reflect, and the magic Reflect is then, you guessed it, going to combo up with the Amplify, and all of a sudden you got yourself a sweet little 2-cost card here. Pelicans Conjurer, beast mode with Grandmaster Rathe, especially once you hit that level 4. Now, I'm going to talk about a few legendaries, but obviously nearly any legendary you pair with another legendary is going to give you good results. But there's a few that I do want to spotlight. Adelaide Brightwing, kind of a no-brainer here, just because she has the armor repair ability and the fly ability. She's going to be hard to hit. She's going to be doing 2 magic damage. Obviously a fantastic card, but just a fantastic card in general. And same thing with Uriel the Purifier. Having that 6 armor and the void armor, it just makes him immensely powerful. But the one that I want to spotlight the most is Jared Scar. And right now, this is one of the cheapest legendaries that you can get on the marketplace for like $2. Because honestly, it's a very difficult card to use. However, Grandmaster Rathe and Jared were meant for each other. Because I tell you what, when you combine these two, he is an absolute monster. A beast and a half, especially if you build the entire team around Jared. And this is, if there is one card you take away from this list, it is, by golly, you need to get Jared Scar and team him up with Grandmaster. Because then he's sitting at 3 armor. He's got the void armor there. He's dealing 5 damage, decent speed, but because of that absolutely insane Bloodlust ability. He's only the 2nd character that we've seen with Bloodlust outside of Clash Duels or whatever, the guild stuff. But it's because he keeps gaining armor and gaining speed and gaining. It's just, he is insane. Once he gets that ball rolling, he's just an absolute monster. Jared Scar, cannot recommend enough. And then this is the other big one that you need to consider too, is the Furious Chicken and the Soul Fiend. Because the bottom line is, this is, like, if you're planning on getting into this game, you need to buy all the 0 cost. I would recommend buying all the 0 cost cards. They're not the funnest cards to utilize, but they're insanely versatile, especially when you factor in now, look at these. If you put these 2 0 card costs out with Grandmaster Rathe in the front 2 spots, you're going to have a card that's going to have to be hit twice. Both of these would have to be hit twice with the Void Armor. That is 4 people hitting your front line, and you spent $0 for it. Whew, it's crazy good. Crazy good, especially if you can get, their shield up, or if you have the unicorn and you get their health up. Just so many fun possibilities, and that's honestly one of the combos that I was running there. I would run the 2 0-cost whites in the front, along with the unicorn in the 3 spot, and that was my whole tanking thing. $3 right there for your frontline tanks. Get out of here. Last but not least, we got 3 more cards. These are situational cards. Only I would recommend, getting these cards if you are able to get them up to the high enough level. So the first one is the Blinding Reflector, 3 cost, and it's still solid because, it gives you 5 armor. It's got tons of armor and the void armor. It's a great card to add. But where it really hits its stride once again is once it gets to level 5. Because then at that point it has the Magic Reflect. But either way, I would still say Blinding Reflector becomes a very viable tank here with 4 void armor right from the jump, and you potentially repairing that armor as well. Likewise, we have the Crystal Jaguar. And this one, I would really highly recommend looking into it if you're at level 4, because then it gets the Thorns, which once again can combo with the Reflect. And all of a sudden, you got yourself something that's doing some pretty decent damage right there. Last but not least, we got the Silver Shield Paladin, which once again, I'd only really recommend getting down with if you can get it up to level 5, just because then you're looking at 5 armor, and it's got the Magic Reflect, and it's got the shield. It's just an absolute beast. comboed up with the Grandmaster Rathe. But at the end of the day, Grandmaster Rathe is a heck of a fun card. I'd highly recommend you check out this legendary. Anytime you see 6 costs being invested in a summoner, you know you're in for a lot of fun. And if you look at the cost of these, these 6 cost summoners, aside from this one, because this one just launched, it's really, really high. And once again, this is not investment advice at all. But Grandmaster Rathe, heck of a fun card. Go rent this one. Potentially consider buying that one if it looks like it might be your cup of tea. If you enjoyed this list, please be sure to click on that subscribe button down below. Consider supporting the Patreon down below. Or even consider donating some cards to me and my kids. We enjoy playing the game, and I enjoy making videos on them. But at the end of the day, bye-bye. Have a great day. I don't know why I said that. It's a weird slogan.